Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, July 22nd, 2025, we're cutting through the noise, digging into the important financial and economic news, both here in Malaysia and what's happening globally.
Yeah, we've got quite a mix today.
We do. Our mission, as always, is to help you quickly grasp what really matters. We've got the sources, now let's extract those key insights.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, we'll start with some pretty significant Malaysian company news, then look at broader economic policy, and finally connect it all to the bigger international picture.
Sounds like a plan.
So, kicking things off on the corporate front, Accenture has acquired Aristal, that's a local management consulting firm. What's the significance here?
Well, this is actually Accenture's first acquisition focused specifically on banking in Malaysia.
Ah, okay.
So it really boosts their ability to help banks upgrade those, core systems, manage big changes. It highlights just how much digital transformation is happening in the financial sector right now.
A real signal then. Okay, moving to a major utility, Tenaga Nasional. They've been granted a High Court judicial review against the Inland Revenue Board. This is over a, RM 291.55 million tax assessment for 2018.
Yeah, and this comes after a recent loss on a similar, much larger dispute about RM 1.25 billion.
Ouch.
It really shows the kind of complex, high-stakes financial disputes these big corporations face. Getting the judicial review and an interim stay, though, it means they're still fighting these significant tax claims.
Definitely one to watch. And some positive infrastructure news. Jati Tinggi Group secured a RM 19.41 million contract from Tenaga Nasional. Submarine cable installation.
Right, another win for them. This adds to what's becoming a pretty substantial project pipeline. I think it's over RM 192 million in new projects just since December last year.
Wow.
Shows steady growth in that critical infrastructure development space.
Good to see. We're also seeing companies gearing up for growth. First Powerr Solutions, they rent out generators. They're moving ahead with an IPO on the ACE market.
Yeah, this signals their expansion plans pretty clearly. They're looking at new markets like oil and gas and also getting into rooftop solar.
Interesting diversification.
Exactly. Using public funding to branch out and grow.
Okay, let's talk property. Pavilion REIT reported an 8.2% rise in net property income, which sounds good, but they're also cautioning about future margin pressure. What's the story there?
So despite the decent performance, they see challenges coming. Things like higher service taxes on commercial rentals, the minimum wage hike, subsidy rationalization.
The broader economic policy starting to bite.
Precisely. It raises that important question of how these macro policies impact profitability, particularly in retail and commercial property.
Okay, now this one's quite interesting. SD Guthrie. They're projected to see, get this, recurring earnings of RM 500 million to potentially RM 1 billion over the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's significant.
And it's coming from industrial developments, land disposals, and their ventures into renewable energy.
It's a major strategic shift, really, monetizing assets, moving seriously into green energy. They've already had one big land sale boost things, and they're bidding for large-scale solar projects.
So diversifying quite heavily.
Definitely. Moving beyond their traditional base into these high-growth, sustainable sectors. Future-proofing, you could say.
Right. But challenges can pop up unexpectedly. Sunway Construction Group might face temporary tender risks in the data center segment. This is due to an anti-graft investigation involving an employee.
Yeah, and while the company stresses it's an isolated thing, it does bring up the issue of reputational risk, especially now with foreign multinational clients really focusing on ESG, environmental, social, and governance standards.
So governance issues can have real business impact.
Absolutely. Any perception of a lapse can affect trust, future contracts. Strong governance isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's vital for competitiveness.
Okay, let's shift focus now to the wider Malaysian economy. Headline inflation actually eased in June, hit a 4-year low of just 1.1%, mostly driven by lower food-at-home prices.
That is good news. Good for consumers, obviously, and it gives Bank Negara potentially a bit more flexibility on monetary policy.
Right.
You're seeing economists revise their full-year inflation forecasts down, especially if that RO95 fuel subsidy rationalization gets delayed further.
Suggests a more stable cost environment, perhaps.
Potentially, yeah. Could free up some household spending.
And another sign of stability. Malaysia's foreign exchange reserves rose again, hit a fresh decade high in mid-July, US $120.9 billion.
That provides a really robust buffer, protection against external shocks, capital outflows, reflects a strengthening ringgit and, overall economic resilience.
Okay, big news on the labor front. Malaysia will enforce the RM 1700 minimum wage nationwide starting August 1st. And importantly, no exceptions for smaller businesses this time.
That's a very significant policy change, aimed squarely at boosting wages, especially at the lower end.
How will businesses cope?
Well, alongside the mandatory minimum wage, the government's also encouraging a voluntary progressive wage policy. They're offering support for companies that increase earnings, trying to boost skilled labor retention.
So a push towards a higher wage economy overall.
That seems to be the goal, yes. Though smaller businesses will certainly feel the pressure on costs and need to adjust.
Understood.
Yeah.
Now, environmental policy. His Majesty the King has consented to the Carbon Capture, Utilization, and Storage Act 2025. What does this mean for Malaysia practically?
This act does two things, really. One, tackles climate change impact. Two, aims to foster a whole new economic growth industry around CCUS technology.
Interesting.
And you combine that with the Bursa Carbon Exchange hosting its first renewable energy auction in November. Malaysia is taking concrete steps toward its decarbonization targets. It also pushes corporates towards adopting green energy.
And related to that, the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry is launching a roadmap to reform the iron and steel sector.
Right, and that roadmap includes introducing a carbon tax in 2026. The aim is to safeguard the industry's integrity, ensure fair competition, but also align it more closely with, well, environmental sustainability goals.
Okay, let's broaden out now. International stage. Asian markets have been a bit jittery, slipping due to renewed tariff tensions. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is meeting Chinese officials about tariff deadlines.
Yeah, this ongoing trade uncertainty is a key driver of volatility across Asia, Malaysia included. Bessent's talks are reportedly focused on pushing China to reduce manufacturing reliance, address sanctioned oil purchases.
With the threat of new tariffs.
Exactly. If agreements aren't reached, new tariffs could be on the table. It's a high-stakes situation.
And we saw the real-world impact, didn't we? General Motors' Q2 profit fell by, US $1.1 billion because of these tariffs?
It's a stark example, yeah. Shows the direct financial hit these macro-level trade policies have on major global companies. Real costs, real impact.
So amid all this, how's Malaysia navigating it? They seem to be opting for negotiation over retaliation.
That's right. It looks like a strategic, quite firm diplomatic approach. They're coordinating with state governments to protect local industries, setting out red lines on sovereignty and domestic policy.
Try to find a balance.
Essentially, yes. Safeguarding economic interests through dialogue, not escalation.
Okay, here's a huge intersection. Tech and sustainability. The UN Secretary General is pushing for AI to run on 100% renewable energy by 2030. He noted a typical AI data center uses as much power as 100,000 homes.
Whoa.
Is that 2030 target even realistic?
It's incredibly ambitious. I mean, the push is vital, absolutely. But you look at the sheer scale of new AI infrastructure. OpenAI and Oracle planning 4.5 gigawatts of data center capacity. That's running on over 2 million chips.
That scale is just mind-boggling.
It is, and it potentially dwarfs the current pace of clean energy adoption globally. So the really important question is, can the clean energy transition actually keep up with AI's exponential energy demand, especially when clean power adoption is so uneven around the world?
A massive challenge. Finally, T. Rowe Price Group, the asset manager, seems to be favoring local bonds in Thailand and Malaysia, betting on more interest rate cuts.
That suggests some confidence in these markets, doesn't it? For Malaysia, Bank Negara might have room for more rate cuts, which could further stimulate domestic growth,
making Malaysian bonds potentially attractive.
For investors looking for returns in an environment where rates might be easing, yes.
Right. So wrapping this all up, we've covered a lot. Corporate shifts in Malaysia, those robust economic indicators like low inflation and high reserves, but also the strategic responses to global trade tensions and this big push towards a green future.
Yeah, the interplay is fascinating. Domestic ambitions meeting these powerful international forces.
It really creates a dynamic landscape.
And I suppose the key question that emerges, as Malaysia navigates these global uncertainties and invests heavily in future industries like data centers, renewables, how will its deliberate policy choices, the Carbon Capture Act, the minimum wage enforcement, how will they ultimately shape its competitiveness and ensure that growth is inclusive in this rapidly changing world?
A really important question to ponder. Lots to think about there. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. If you're looking for analysis that cuts through the noise, helps you stay informed, make sure you subscribe to The Deep Dive.
We'll be back soon.
We will, with another stack of insights. Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.